Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today I'm reviewing Dispatches from Everywhere, premiering on AMC. So I was pretty excited to check out this series. It looked very interesting, very metaphysical, and I always like things like that, like a little more artistic feel to things. And I have to say, I definitely was not disappointed in that aspect. Now, rather than spending 5 minutes trying to dive into what the show is about, because it is pretty weird, it's pretty complex. I know that early reviews are just saying it's the weirdest show of the year, and I have to agree with that for the most part. So I'll mostly just jump into things I like instead of trying to dive into the minutia of what makes up the show. So first and foremost, Jason Segel plays the main character, Peter. And the one thing I like about his character is that he's almost a blank slate. He's someone that you can project yourself onto, someone who has the everyday struggles of a normal life. Very, very normal, very baseline in a way. And that's the trademark of his character, is you're able to mold things onto him. His experiences change who he is throughout even this individual episode. And I think that Jason Segel did a really good job. Most people think of him as a comedic actor for the most part, but he has had some serious roles, and I always thought he knocked his serious roles out of the park just as much as his comedic ones. And I do like his very subdued take on this character and having him kind of have these mental breakdowns throughout the show, because his life is so basic and normal that these extraordinary events really get to him. Another thing that I do enjoy about this series so far is just the risks that they're willing to take in the filming style and the cinematography. There's moments where it gets very personal and it takes this handheld style, this handy cam, very changes the way it looks. You get a different vibe from the different scenes in the show. It doesn't stick with the same linear way. It makes you feel far more involved. It feels like you're watching these characters from a more personal view. I feel like it's more comparable to an art house film or an indie film to then a big budget network show, and I like that personal touch. And another thing that this show does that's a little different than your normal television show is it has this omniscient narrator. You have at the beginning of the episode and you see him again at the end, and it just has such an interesting take to it. You don't see that, and I like that it's taking these risks and making the show very unique. And Richard Grant as Octavio Coleman is so captivating when he's on screen because he's such a charismatic actor. And just the look that he gives the camera, where it's so menacing yet so inviting. And I do like that about his character so far. I also like that the score of the show captures the mood of the different scenes. It has that very ominous, like almost sci-fi quality to it. And then it also gets very whimsical. It also gets very heavy at times when there's some dramatic moments happening. And the show does get very metaphysical. I think that's the hallmark of the show, is that it's trying to dive in to the minutia and the general understanding of how people feel in their existence and trying to find purpose in life. And I think that they've nailed that so far, at least with the first episode. You're definitely seeing characters that are trying to discover who they are, what their main purpose in life is, and just how to just elevate themselves. Maybe they're outsiders, all the different characters. And while it does have a really solid cast, I was surprised how good the cast was in this show. You get each individual stories from someone who's completely different than each other. I do like that the show has otherworldly elements, especially when Jason Segel is first initiated into this organization, into this program that he goes into. You're starting to see the world change for him. It's not just boring. You're seeing street signs and posters move. You're seeing light being reflected, and that's something that I really like, that they're capturing a mood in the environment. You're seeing how the world is changing for him personally with his personal experiences. And I think that they handled that really well. It's something that you don't see a lot in television. They try to stick to either being very real or being fantastical, but the fact that they're able to blend the two in a way that you are understanding how these characters are feeling. And that is something that is definitely exemplified in a later scene in the first episode. We go into a cartoon world. One of the characters is being stalked by someone. She's being followed, and you're seeing what she's experiencing through a cartoon lens, maybe taking this really dark reality and seeing it in a more whimsical way. The one thing that I think that people might not like about the series, which it doesn't bother me because it reminds me a lot of movies that I've seen that I do enjoy, the dialogue is very basic. It's very sharp. It can be a little jarring at times because you're seeing these people's personalities. They're almost saying their inner thoughts without thinking, and it seems kind of odd. It's very awkward and clunky, but it does capture who these characters are as personalities. For example, Peter is very shy. He's always apologizing. He's kind of saying things that are awkward and mistimed. And Simone is very charismatic. She's always trying to be bigger than life, larger than life the way she's talking. She's really trying to make it this infectious happiness that she wants to have herself. And then Fredwin, played by Andre 3000, surprisingly, he's had some pretty decent roles recently. I really liked him in High Life, if you haven't seen that film. But he is, very analytical. He's kind of aggressive in the way that he's trying to approach the world. So at the end of the day, I really did enjoy the first episode of the show, and I do like the theming that it's going with, and I like that after the end of the first one, you're seeing that we are going to have the stories of these individual characters, which I think will build them up. I was obviously connected to Peter in the first episode. You're driven to kind of mold yourself around him, and the narrator says now envision yourself as Simone at the end of the episode. So we obviously are going to get her story in the second one. But I like how we are seeing these people's reason for existing. They're not just being there, they're trying to live and be vibrant instead of just being this mundane lifestyle. And I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to. You know, you live your life, everything's pretty basic. You go to work, you come home, go to sleep, eat, watch TV. You just get in this rut. And then this is having these characters break loose of those chains and have this, you know, nonchalance, as they call it in the episode. I would like to see how they're going to build this huge world. They've obviously created pretty good groundwork as far as the supernatural elements, the over-the-top, almost cult-like elements that are happening. So I can't wait to see how it plays out. If you watched the first episode of Dispatches from Elsewhere, let me know what you thought about it. Where do you think it's going to go? What do you think is happening on the show? Do you think it's a game? Do you think it's a simulation? Do you think this is reality? I'm really interested to see how they play it off. Leave those comments down below. Remember to like and subscribe, and see you next time.